You know the rules. So,
yes.
10 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Away.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I greet you from Belgium, Antwerp, Belgium, where we are just coming out of our second lockdown, I'm afraid. So we're hoping that things get better here real soon. So it's really strange that my stuff wasn't working because I've been online for months. But I wanted to talk about my journey. I, like Marjorie a bit earlier, traveled to Europe from America. My journey was just a bit different than hers. In the beginning, I really was looking for a stable job, and everybody I spoke to said that teaching was a stable job. So I decided to go to university to study education. So the question became, what education? Teaching English as a second language or teaching English as a foreign language was not very popular when I really started my education in 1979. But I knew that I was very interested in culture. I loved everything culture related. I studied languages in high school. I was an avid foreign film fan. I read a lot of books in translation. So I decided to become an English teacher, obviously, with the hope of really teaching literature. That was really my goal. But that doesn't always work out. My first job was actually teaching literacy. My job was really no different than that BBC show, Mind Your Language, if anybody's seen it or seen clips online. My first class of adults was very much like that show. Just everybody having a different culture, a different understanding of English, a different understanding of America, and me trying to teach them the nuanced approach so that they could survive in a very busy and fast-paced world just outside of Buffalo, New York, actually. So it was very, very interesting. And it got me thinking, yeah, I really like this. There's a real strong connection between language and culture, and I need to keep that up in my life. And so I have really, because of that first job, I've really dedicated my life onto the focus of how our language and culture intertwined. And so that was the beginning of my journey. Then I took a break because I really, I needed a full-time job, steady employment, and adult education in America is not necessarily steady employment sometimes. So I went to work more on the administrative side and focused a lot on didactics, really focusing on educational technology and standards. And during this period, I decided to pursue a master's degree, and I received a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And as I was working on my degree and doing a lot of my admin work, I always found myself going back to this concept of language and culture. And I produced my final master's thesis on this. I focused on educational technology, on the best educational tools at the time for advancing language and culture. And I worked a lot in our state, I'm from New York State, on the standards for the whole state, on teaching not literature, which was always my passion, but actually teaching English as a second language, which was something I developed early in my career. And then I took an EFL sojourn, and I was looking for something different. I was going to leave Buffalo, actually, and I was moving to New York City. But before I did that, I wanted to do something more fun. So I signed up and participated in a experience in Romania, which was my first European experience and my first real foray into teaching English as a foreign language. So in Timișoara, Romania, I spent the whole summer teaching English to teenagers, and it was just an amazing experience. I mean, Romania always has a place in my heart. It's an absolutely beautiful country. The students were amazing, and I've been back a few times, but it really made me decide that, yeah, okay, as much as I love literature and all of that, and theater and film and television and that relationship to culture, I really love this concept of teaching English as a foreign language. So, but unfortunately, I went to New York, and yeah, I wasn't necessarily teaching English as a foreign language, but I was teaching in a New York City school, which is a very diverse school. And I was very fortunate because I had a very diverse population. So I was able to keep up focusing on the language and culture by using a series of literature titles related to the various cultures represented in my class. So we had first generation Hispanic students, we had students coming from South America, we had some students still coming from Europe, African-American students, Black students, and Asian students. So I was able to teach that way. So again, what I found different was I wasn't so focused on plot and theme and setting, but I was really focused on the language of those books. And I was really wanted to make that come alive for the students. And the beauty was having so many cultures in the classroom, I could rely on those students to fill us in about the things that we were unfamiliar with, that we were reading about. And that too was very much an eye-opener for me. Shortly, I stayed there for a number of years, and it was a great experience. But then I, as many people that come to Europe, I fell in love, and I decided to move to Belgium, where my partner lived. And I thought, oh, this can't be hard. I have a lot of experience, and it should be not a problem. But unfortunately, I'm not from an EU country, so therefore it was very difficult to find a job at first. So a lot of paperwork, which I won't bore you with, but what I decided to do was go into publishing. I was fortunate that a local publisher was looking for a native speaker to work on a new series that they were developing called Spark. And so I spent a number of years working for them and an authors team developing 5 books for the Spark series and 5 books for another series called Touchdown. And what I found was that really opened my eye to the approach, the Belgian approach to teaching English as a foreign language, which in the northern part of the country where I live is a requirement for all students. So that was great. So I'm really, really glad that I had that experience, but I was still itching to get back into the classroom and into what I love doing, and that is relating language to culture. I was fortunate again. I found a job in a teacher training situation, which I thought, oh, this is perfect. I can take everything I know and then give it to the future English teachers here in Flanders. And that's an amazing experience. Plus all the didactic information I learned, what I learned about being when I was in Romania. So it was really great. And I love this because I taught the students in the 2nd and 3rd year of the program. So we got to deal with high-end didactics, and we dealt a lot with new theories. This is, I introduced them to the lexical approach and things like that so that we could really dive into this. And the beauty was they had me to talk about the culture aspect. And so we really could bring the two things alive in the classroom. And I stayed in that situation for a number of years. And then quickly you start to move over into other things. That wasn't a full-time job. So to make it a full-time job, I moved into English for special purposes. And I taught English for logistics and English for tourism, accounting and marketing and global communication. And again, the beauty here was that when I was teaching even how to write an email, it was about what phrases to use because of the cultural aspect of that. And that really, really opened up the eyes for many students. They didn't have to just learn lists, but they really had to focus on what was the cultural piece behind my message. So I've been at Thomas More now for 13 years. That's the university where I teach. And after about 10 years, I moved over to the media school, which was a blessing in disguise. I have a bachelor's degree in education, but I also have a minor in communication and media. And moving over to the media school, I got to work in the communication department and in the media and entertainment business department. It just so happens I went in at exactly the right time because they were developing international degrees in both those programs. And I was asked to sit on the committees to develop those degrees. And one of the things we really wanted to focus on is if we're bringing in international students from all over the world to study here in Belgium, we really wanted to focus on the culture. So again, I got to tie my love of language and culture together in the development of those programs. And then I continued to teaching in those programs. And if you've never ever taught in an international class where you have students from all over the world, it is the single most amazing experience of my life. The conversations we have and the things that we learn about each other and about different cultures, it's an amazing experience that I will value forever. All of that has led me finally to my final position. And I sometimes wonder, I ask myself sometimes, am I really an EFL teacher anymore? And the thing is, I think I am, except now I'm more admin. I'm a program coordinator for an international business program, an international media and entertainment business program. So, but I still get to teach and I still get to infuse all that culture. And that